Dun 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 dun. Yes, it is Fernando Ramirez. Victor producer is out. He is still on short term IR. But I'm Fernando Ramirez. I'm here on House of Horns, butting in where I was not asked to butt in, but I'm still here. I got Gilbert Manzano. What's up, bro?
What's up, Fernando? I'm kind of excited to hear that. What's up, bro? Here on a different show, House of Horns. And thank you for filling in on short notice for Victor to discuss this Rams Seahawks game. It was a close game, good effort. They were doing it for Bobby Wagner, Fernando. Bobby Wagner was playing out of his mind. 2 sacks, an interception, 3 tackles for loss, seven
What?
total tackles. Yeah,
What?
keep going and going. Uh, and he put him in contention without, you can say what for this too, without Matthew Stafford,
What?
without Cooper Cup,
What?
without Allen Robinson,
What?
without Aaron Donald,
What?
without Ashawn Robinson.
What?
Bobby Wagner single handedly kept this team in it to the end. But then Geno Smith had that game winning touchdown to DK Metcalf with Jalen Ramsey in coverage. And that was a hard one for Ramsey to, kind of swallow because in the post game, he was pretty short with the responses. And I think it was more about trying to win this one for Bobby Wagner, Fernando. So I know the playoffs are not an option here for the Rams, but they all wanted to win that game for Bobby Wagner. So I think I would describe it as one of the biggest losses for them this year to swallow because they just care about Bobby that much. But yeah, kind of same result. They tried, best effort, 6 game losing streak, which is crazy to think. Fernando, three
Yeah.
and nine on the year.
It's crazy because I mean, for a guy to integrate himself like this, the way Bobby Wagner has with the Rams, is nice to see. I mean, he's a leader. We've known it when he was with the Seahawks. Now he comes to the Rams, and you can tell he's a leader. The guys love him, and like you said, 7 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 1 pass defended, 2 quarterback hits, and a partridge in a pear tree. Obviously, a pick. It's just crazy to see the way Bobby Wagner play today. Obviously, the question is going to be asked after the season: can he still play? Can he still go? Obviously, today was an indication. Yes, this guy can still go. Yes, this guy can still play. And I think honestly, and again, I know I harp on it a little bit, but with the decisions the Rams are going to have to make, I think one decision that's easy is I think Bobby Wagner should be here moving forward because he's made an impact on this defense, and he really is one of the better middle linebackers in the league.
Yeah, I think the Rams are seeing what makes Bobby Wagner great. Like even when it's highs and lows, he's still the same guy, even keel. Doesn't let emotions affect the preparation, the preparation that he's so renowned for, Fernando. And he called this game just another game. Bobby Wagner did not want to show any emotion about this game. I tried my hardest, Fernando, to get him to talk about it. Because the way they let him go, they released him without giving him a heads up. He had to find that on social media, and it was an ugly, kind of messy breakup for such a decorated player in Seahawks history. But he didn't want the emotions to get to him. He let those emotions out on the field. When guys have a lot of pressure and they want something so badly, they kind of let that get into their head, and they don't play as well. They press, and you could tell that was that even kill. Or I should say it's a kill, but more like a kill. He was going for the sacks. Like at one point
Yeah.
after one play, he roared. He kind of had like a roar up to the rafters. He had like a little celebration with the fingers. Like I saw more emotion out of Bobby Wagner, and I think a lot of the players were feeding off of that. And I think Bobby had to do that too because, again, like I mentioned, all those players were out. And this was a game like they actually needed him to be a game wrecker to kind of turn back the clock. So yeah, again, like you've talked about this before, Fernando. But the Chargers side, nobody wants to hear about moral victories. This team doesn't want to hear about moral victories, but this one really stung them. And to be in the game that until the end, and then for Metcalf to get that touchdown, man, Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Geno Smith just went off on this Rams defense, and it's to be expected. But to lose to a divisional rival 6 games in a row, it was tough. But I think Sean McVay was saying like, hey, I'm proud about this team. I like going to to the trenches with this team because it sounds weird to say, but he didn't really see progress or improvement the first half of the season. Now it's a little too late, but he's seeing an improvement. He's seeing that fight, and I think that's all you can ask for. And Sean McVay didn't take a hit to the face today, so I think he's happy about that.
Hey, I mean, I'm sure the moneymakers happy about that, about not taking any hits right there. But let me ask you, I mean, you said right now that McVay was happy about not happy, but that he sees some things moving forward. Was today maybe a little bit? of a better day for the run game. I mean, obviously the Rams haven't been able to run the ball well today. 33 times, 171 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Cam Akers, I think, had 2 touchdowns himself. Was that could it be maybe a little bit of a turning point moving forward? I think this is the only thing positive that you could really take, except for them fighting for Bobby Wagner and everything. I feel like this is a positive, especially from a team who hasn't been able to run the ball that well this season.
Yeah, Fernando, I might have looked at it wrong, but it might be 148. But if it's 171, that's definitely a season high for the Rams, and that is a positive. Before that was such a battle to get the running game going, get some run blocking going, get something steady out of the offensive line, and then Cam Akers was gone for a month from this team, and he comes back and he has a kind of a pretty good game, 60 yards rushing on 17 carries. I want to say that's a season high. So they were committed to him, and he got the 2 touchdowns there. He took the lead.
ESPN does say
Okay,
171.
then I'm the one that's probably looking bad there. So that is a season high then, 171. And then John Wolford is making some throws too, Fernando. So the whole debate about getting Perkins or Wolford and one does better. Like Perkins does better, as being mobile and on the run, extending plays with his legs. But he was a little shaky as a passer. I think Wolford showed some of the experience, with the receivers, Tutu Atwell, Van Jefferson, Brandon Powell, and he had a balanced attack. When you have a balanced attack, that helps you out. So I think Cam Akers and getting some of these jet sweeps with Brandon Powell really helped out the offense. So last week they only got 198 total yards, Fernando. They matched that in the first half, so they were doing pretty well. But you kind of feel bad for John Wolford. He was taking hits. I want to say he took 9 hits today. Went to the Blue Medical tent to be evaluated for potential concussion. Somebody rolled up on his calf, and Bryce Perkins had to come in for a little bit, and then he has to come back now for a Thursday night football game. So this team is taking a beating, and then kind of on a different subject here, Fernando. Sean McVay mentioned an update from Matthew Stafford. His injury is a spinal cord contusion. I'm not a doctor, but it doesn't sound too good there. Look at you with the quick updates here, Fernando. So he pretty much hinted that his season is over for Matthew Stafford. So that big Chargers Rams game, probably no
I
Stafford
thought
there.
maybe he'd come back for that one.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. But that means John Wolford, Bryce Perkins, the rest of the way. And I go back to what Sean McVay said, like he's finally seeing improvement, and it's a tough situation and tough, just being shorthanded. And for Wolford to have a game like this, just to keep it there, keep it close, was a good sign.
What now that you got to watch, so obviously Matthew Stafford moving forward, did he give any indications like, hey, he's fine? Yes, he's this. Yeah, he's in good. Like anything like that to that extent, or not really?
Not really, but one thing I kind of zero in on from his presser, I want to say Friday.
That's 2 concussions and the spinal injury, right?
But he only has 1 concussion,
One
and
concussion.
for this one that he went for the protocol was the neck thing, the spinal cord
Oh, okay,
contusion.
okay.
But that still sounds very serious. But one thing
Yeah,
I remember from the press conference earlier in the week that Sean McVay said, he hasn't been told from the medical staff that this could affect him for next season. So maybe it could be something where like a couple weeks, a couple months, and he's ready to go next year. That's still another topic to be discussed for next year, because you got to ask yourself, you're Matthew Stafford, do you want to come back? But it doesn't sound like this neck thing will affect them. So that was big. And Sean McVay almost came close to giving us a timeline. He's like, yeah, it could be, this and that. And he's like, you know what? He's not coming. He's probably not coming back for the season. So I kind of wanted to hear what that
almost
timeline
close
would
up.
be. Yeah, he almost gave it up, but he did not there. So, yeah, it's a different topic there. But Matthew Stafford, you're probably going to see him for the rest of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if they do the same with Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald as well. So go ahead, Fernando.
So obviously, Geno Smith is one of the leading candidates for comeback player of the year. I know it's House of Horns, but I got to ask you. I mean, I got to watch him a couple of weeks ago. I was very impressed with him when they were able to blow out the Chargers there at SoFi. Just what were your impressions from watching him? 28 for 39, 367, 3 touchdowns and an interception. What did you think about the way Geno played? Are you impressed?
It's pretty impressive, like I'm sure you're surprised, Fernando, what kind of
Oh,
season
yeah.
he's having. This
I
guy's
watched him at Chargers training camp like years ago, and I was like, "How's this guy still in the league?" And now, like, I see him, I'm like, "Okay, wow, like this is a different guy."
Dude, he's dealing. Like even when like he's not open, he could escape the pocket, create on the run, and then hit a guy downfield for 40 yards. He had a nice rainbow high arching throw to DK Metcalf on the right sideline. The rookie for the Rams, Darion Kendrick, went through some growing pains. So he was on DK a lot. They called Darion Kendrick DK, so DK on DK there. And
Uh,
the older DK was, just having his day against him. And a couple of times Jalen Ramsey had to go help out. And then I think Ramsey was dwelling on that, allowing the game-winning touchdown at the end because like he wants to be in those moments, right? He's a star
yeah.
player, and that cost him. But the rookie was taking the licks there for most of the games there. But I think that's one of the things that you got to remember on the Rams side. Like you weren't expecting this season to turn out this way, but then you get guys like who are developing for next year, like a Kobe Durant, Darion Kendrick, a Michael Hoyt came out as a surprise. He's an interior defensive lineman, but he's being asked to play on the outside. Got 2 sacks today and a forced fumble. So, I think the roster is going to be very different next year, Fernando. But, you could tell and evaluate some of these young guys. Okay, maybe you could be a guy, you could stick around. But to answer your question, Geno Smith, man, he came out of nowhere. He's dealing. Tyler Lockett. Well, a tough thing for the Seahawks, man. Kenneth Walker was ruled out with an ankle injury early.
Mm.
And I was kind of wondering how that's going to affect them with the balanced attack. But he just kept going to Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf and say, hey, close out the game.
Metcalf and Lockett, 17 receptions combined, 255 yards and 2 touchdowns. They both had over 120 yards of offense, and they looked like they were all over SoFi Stadium. A couple of weeks ago, I saw the same thing, except for Metcalf went down with that injury, and Lockett was the one going crazy with Marquise Godwin. So that was pretty interesting to see. But what do you think about them? The way they I think they're one of the top duo. I think they're one of the most underrated receiving duos in the NFL.
Yeah, Lockett and Metcalf, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I came into this game, I kept thinking about like, oh, I want to see Kenneth Walker play, and I'm like, oh, right, they have some dudes still on the receiving core with Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and I want to know, like, I'm sure maybe they have, but like, have they had a game where they combined for this many yards together? Because that's pretty up there. And then they each had a touchdown, and then Geno Smith threw a nice touchdown to Noah Fant in the back of the end zone, kind of let the play develop, and he just found them out there. So those are kind of the savvy veteran plays that Geno was making out there, but you know for the Rams, they wanted to get this win because one, they're in a 6-game losing streak. You're playing
Yeah.
divisional rival. You want to play spoiler, like when you get into a bad season, the tables have turned, right? Like well, how the turntables have turned, right, Fernando?
Yeah, exactly.
The office. You play spoiler, and imagine if they would have beat them, they would have been what 7-6 there. And now they're back in the NFC West race because I think the 49ers lost Jimmy G. So to be 7-5, there you go. I know you
Dude,
love.
I had a white elephant last night. Look at this. I got Pam, Michael, Dwight, Jim, Stanley the Manly, and oh my god, why did I forget her name? Oh, whatever.
I think
Yeah.
everybody here is waiting for the Stanley vacation. You know that got the little hat, the shirt. So
I may
there's
have
just
to bring it out.
there's still 5 games to go though here. So, but eventually they want to go on vacation.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously, so what I mean, did you feel like the defense? I mean, with all the missing pieces, do you feel like they put up a good effort? I mean, to be completely honest, I mean, to only have lost by 4 points to the Seahawks, but I feel like that's kind of more of a divisional thing, huh? Like no matter what, you're always gonna play your divisional opponents hard.
Yeah, I was wondering how the run defense will do without Aaron Donald and Shot Robinson. But once Kenneth Walker went out, they really went pass heavy there. But for the second half, they held them to field goals. That's why John Wolford got a chance in that one key drive with Cam Akers to close out to drive. I think it was like a 6-yard rushing touchdown to make it 23-20 with 2:36 to go. So to shut them down for field goals, that's why you took the lead. But then obviously they have one more drive to go, and somebody asked like, "Hey, like, were you hoping to kill clock to maybe not give them a chance?" You never know. You always go for the touchdown. You can't just go and like, "Hey, go down at the goal before the goal line and kill more clock." So I think they played it the way they needed to. But now you go into a Raider game who we beat the Chargers, Fernando.
Yeah,
I
it did.
can't wait to watch what's the boats there. But
Uh,
Raiders Rams on Thursday Night Football. But Fernando, I am ready to hand out some beers.
all right, let's do that. So who are we handing? Who are we handing? For people who are out there asking chelas. Chelas is in it's kind of a slang word for beer. So I'm wondering who Gilbert's gonna hand one out to.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, like when it's a disappointing season, it creates opportunities for others. And I've been impressed with Tutu Atwell. I think Darion Kendrick going through the growing pain is going to pay off. But I think they found maybe a gem in Michael Hoyt. He's a 300-pounder interior defensive lineman who's playing on the outside, and they're very thin, Fernando, on the outside. And we've discussed many times like this team needs to create pressure. They haven't been doing it. Him and Leonard Floyd were a nice little duo. I don't know what that means for the future, but for today's game, Michael Hoyt, have yourself. He's Canadian, by the way, so I'll say a Molson.
Hey,
Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that right, but that's a Canadian beer or a brand
Canadian,
in
hey.
Canada. So I think he said he was raised in Ohio, though. But this guy was playing on special teams. He was a gunner at one point. He's like a big dude. He got a snap at tight end. So not to be asked to play edge rusher and to have 2 sacks and a forced fumble, like I kept hearing his name called and I kept seeing him in the backfield. So Michael Hoyt, have yourself a cold one.
I'm gonna go with Bobby Wagner. I mean, obviously they played hard for him. You got to give it to the guy. I mean, he played against his former team. Everything that they wanted, he did. So he was all over the place. He did everything they wanted him to, and I hope he enjoys a nice cold one off of a rough season. But I gotta ask you, Uncle Joe Reedy tweeted out that the most electrifying man in all of entertainment was there in front of the millions, well, probably hundreds and millions of the Rock supporters. Did he do anything or no? Or they just showed him on screen?
You know what's funny? They showed him during the anthem. I'm like, that's a true American hero right there, Dwayne the Rock Johnson. But yeah,
What was he wearing? Was he wearing like a tight, like a no sleeve shirt
uh,
or?
from what I remember, it was like a tight baby blue shirt. I think he was with one of his daughters or sons. I forget. But I just thought it was kind of random to show him during the anthem. But I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
I would like to have him represent my country. So
So,
that,
Reedy thinks that he was there because of WrestleMania stuff. That he's probably there doing some WrestleMania stuff, behind the scenes stuff. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that could be one. And Kim Kardashian was there too. So interesting day for the Rams. I mean, a lot of celebrities still coming out, even though they're 3-9. That's pretty good.
yeah, the stars are coming out.
Gilberto's still there, so obviously people come and see him.
Exactly, but it was like you mentioned, Bobby Wagner revenge game. Everybody loves a revenge game,
Yeah.
so that's why Kim Kardashian and The Rock came out. Like we want to see Bobby Wagner put it to his former team.
There you go. And that's why he deserves a shout out from me. Gilbert, short week, like you mentioned, they play the Raiders. That should be an interesting game, to be honest, even though obviously the Raiders are coming off a victory over the Chargers, and the Rams are coming off their loss to the Seahawks. Should be an interesting Thursday night game. I mean, especially with like some of the pieces that you're mentioning, them playing well. This could be an interesting game on Thursday.
Yeah, I haven't really caught up on the Chargers Raiders game, but I want to see what the Raiders did to beat the Chargers.
Chandler Jones had 3 sacks.
Okay, so
He hit Justin Herbert 5 times. They hit Justin Herbert 14 times.
so Rams offensive line, be ready for Chandler Jones and Max Crosby. So it's a short week, and we'll see who they throw at quarterback. I want to say it's still John Wolford, but man, like I mentioned, for now, he took a lot of licks today. But it's good to see them still playing hard, and maybe it'll be an entertaining game for Thursday Night Football. But we'll see. It's a short week. I need to go ice up.
Yeah, no, and we appreciate everybody checking out House of Horns. Don't forget, this week we got COMPAS on the beat. Gilbert, I found I found somebody else that does the gritty. My boy Jalen Hurts from the Philadelphia Eagles scored a running touchdown, and then he starts doing it. I'm feeling it. I'm there with him. So I was there. So we're gonna break down all things NFL on COMPAS on the beat. We're gonna break down stuff on COMPAS. Don't forget to check out all of our shows, COMPAS FC. We got it all for you guys. Gilbert, thank you so much. All the viewers, thank you guys so much. But
No, Fernando, thank you for jumping in on short notice. You had a great performance as a backup, like John Wolford. So I appreciate you being here as a co-host.
Hey, 2 picks. I didn't throw any picks.
Okay, good point there. But you orchestrated a clutch, rally drive there. So you did that at least. But on that note, ya nos vamos, pues, vámonos.